He has no face, he has no name, no motive. And yet, wherever he appears, people disappear. He is known by only one name, Slender Man, a faceless stalker, a mind-bending predator. Today, we explore the legend that refuses to die. It all began in June 2009 on the website Something Awful. A user named Eric Knudsen, under the alias Victor Surge, submitted 2 haunting, digitally altered photographs for a Photoshop contest. The images showed groups of children playing, seemingly unaware of the figure looming in the background. A tall, unnaturally thin man, draped in a black suit, with elongated arms and a smooth, featureless face. Attached to these eerie photos were captions, as if they had been pulled from a forgotten police report. "We didn't want to go, we didn't want to kill them, but its persistent silence and outstretched arms horrified and comforted us at the same time." 1983 photographer unknown, presumed dead. These images were the spark. What followed was a wildfire of creativity. New stories, new sightings, new horrors. But with each edition, something strange happened. Slender Man stopped being a harmless piece of fiction. The internet is a breeding ground for urban legends, where fact and fiction blend in ways that confuse even the most skeptical minds. But Slender Man was different. It wasn't just the images, it was the lore that began to grow around him. Writers and fans added details that made the character more sinister, more real. They described him as a being who could stretch his arms, who could cause distortion in electronic devices, and who would prey on the weak, particularly children. Some claimed he could manipulate time, bending reality to suit his hunger. His powers were terrifyingly varied: mind control, telepathy, even the ability to induce madness. Slender Man became more than a digital boogeyman. He became a symbol, a dark figure who embodied fear itself. The legend of Slender Man also evolved with a new and chilling concept: slender sickness. Victims claimed that after their first encounter with him, they began to feel ill. Nausea, dizziness, nightmares, memory loss. They saw visions of him in their dreams. His faceless silhouette would appear in the distance, then in the corner of their rooms, closer and closer each time they blinked. Some even claimed to experience blackouts, waking up in places they didn't remember going, surrounded by signs that someone had been watching them. The most terrifying part? They weren't sure if it was a dream or reality. Imagine it for a moment. You're walking through a park near dusk, the kind of place you've walked hundreds of times before. The trees seem a little taller than you remember, their shadows stretching across the ground like dark fingers. Then, from the corner of your eye, you notice something, or someone, a tall, unnaturally thin figure, standing between the trees. You blink. He's gone. You shake it off, convinced your mind is playing tricks on you. But as you keep walking, that feeling returns. The hair on your neck stands up, you feel watched. And there, standing impossibly still at the edge of the woods, he's back. You freeze. No face, no features, just the void where his face should be. Do you run, or do you stand still, hoping he doesn't move? That feeling of being watched, it's a primal fear, and Slender Man taps into it like few others. The legend preys on your uncertainty, your instinctual dread of being stalked by something that cannot be reasoned with. But the question remains, why does Slender Man provoke such a powerful reaction? Why do people fear him, believe in him, even when they know he's just a story? The answer lies in the way Slender Man interacts with our minds. He's faceless, featureless. In a world filled with emotions and expressions, his lack of both is profoundly disturbing. He embodies the unknown, the ultimate predator. As the myth of Slender Man grew, the stories took a darker turn. It wasn't just about sightings anymore. People began to attribute real-world disappearances to the faceless man. In various online communities, users claimed their friends had seen Slender Man before mysteriously vanishing. Others said they were being haunted by the figure themselves, tormented by his looming presence, always just out of reach. Then, in 2014, the line between fiction and reality blurred in the most horrifying way possible. It happened in Waukesha, Wisconsin, a quiet suburban town. Two 12-year-old girls, Morgan Geyser and Anissa Wire, led their friend into the woods under the guise of playing a game. What followed was something no one could have predicted. They stabbed her 19 times and left her to die. Their motive? They claimed it was for Slender Man. The girls believed that if they didn't kill for him, Slender Man would come after them and their families. In their minds, they had no choice but to prove their loyalty to him. The victim miraculously survived, but the event sent shockwaves through the nation. The horror wasn't just that two young girls had committed such a brutal act, it was that they had done it for a fictional character. Or was he just fictional? Now imagine being in the woods, hearing only the sound of your breath. The leaves rustle, but there's no wind. You glance around, and for a moment you catch a glimpse of a dark suit between the trees. You blink, he's gone. You start to run, your footsteps echoing in the emptiness, but no matter how fast you go, you feel him behind you. That silence, that persistent, choking silence. You can almost feel his eyes, even though you know there are none. What do you do when your mind turns against you? When reality slips away and all that's left is the cold grip of fear? In the aftermath of the Waukesha attack, the media scrambled to understand how two young girls could be so deeply influenced by an internet creation. Some blamed it on mental illness, others saw it as a cautionary tale about the power of online myth. But the question remained, why Slender Man? Psychologists have suggested that Slender Man's appeal lies in his ambiguity. He's the perfect horror story for the digital age. His motives are unclear, his form undefined. He exists in the shadows, just like the fears we carry but never speak aloud. He's a blank slate onto which we project our deepest anxieties. But for those who have encountered him, whether in fiction or, they claim, in reality, Slender Man is no blank slate. He is an entity, a being that feeds off fear and paranoia. In countless online stories, his victims are drawn to the woods. They are called to the silence, to the darkness, where he waits, lurking just out of sight. Some say he can only be seen by those who are meant to see him. And once you've laid eyes on him, there's no turning back. You belong to him. And perhaps even now, as you watch this, you feel it. The faint chill in the air, the creeping feeling that someone might be watching you. Don't turn around, not yet. But when you do, make sure no one is standing in the shadows, just out of reach. Because if he is, it might already be too late. Slender Man remains one of the most chilling figures to emerge from internet folklore, but he's more than just a scary story. He's a reflection of our collective fears. Fear of the unknown, fear of losing control, fear that someone might be watching us when we least expect it. So the next time you find yourself walking through a dark forest or looking out your window late at night, keep an eye on the shadows. You never know when Slender Man might decide to step out and make himself known. And remember, once you've seen him, there's no escape.